Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome. Today I'm happy to welcome Artur Zanón from DoIt Games to the channel. He's here to talk about Pole Position, which is a very new, exciting tabletop racing game that they've been working on for quite a while. So Artur, welcome to the channel.
Hello Mike, thank you for inviting me in your program. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And shall we jump right in and take a look at the game?
Yes.
All right, so I know we're looking at a part of the game here, and I invite you, Artur, to let us know, to tell us about the game.
So first, I would like to show you the dashboard of every player. Every player will have a dashboard where we will control the car and all the features of the car. For example, this dashboard have the 3 tracks of resources like engine, brakes, and driver points. So each track offers different kind of things. I'm not going to go further. Okay, so this is a resource management. So when you, for example, very quick, if you want to go increase the speed on the straights, you spend 1 engine point. Okay, and you pass from 7 to 6, and your car is faster right now in the straight. Same thing happen with corners, with bends. So it's another track, and the last track, it's the driver skill points. These have many uses around along the game, many uses like overtaking. When you want to pass another car, there is an auction, so every player bids like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 stops, and the winner, if the winner is the attacker, they pass the other player, and to do that you must use driver skill points. So driver skill points, it's like a wheel. You will see that you use them for lots of things. There also, you have here in the right side, there are when there are collisions, and there are to set or to mark your breakdowns. Okay, if you get so many breakdowns, you could be out of the race. Here, the main in the left part, you have the main part of the heart of the game is the kind of tire you are using. You will see that you have 4 types of tire, 4 kinds of tire, from soft tires, which are very quick. You will see that I don't tell you before, but the game, you roll a dice and you count. If you are using this tire, this only lasts 2 laps, but it's very fast. Another kind is the hard tire, which it's not as fast as the previous one, but it lasts 4 laps. And the other tires are when it's raining. So every lap, the life of the tire is decreasing from, for example, from 2 to 1. And if you don't go to the pit stop, if you don't do a pit stop, the life, there is a penalty in red, -1 and -2, -1 and -2. So you better go to the pit stop, change a new tire, and go ahead.
Very interesting. And I know I got a chance to watch one of your tutorial videos, and that's the one thing that struck me, is that it's much more than just a dice throwing game. There is a lot of strategy for like when you brake, when you speed up, how you use because you only have a very limited number of all of these driver, engine, and brake points. So I thought the thing that really impressed me was the amount of thinking that goes into your gameplay. So now we're looking at one of the 8 racetracks that are in the game. And I know you have a lot to say about this. This looks like the racetrack from Great Britain. I'll let you introduce the racetracks in this concept to us.
Yes, the first thing we thought when we were making the game is that we want the player to get different feelings depending on which circuit they are playing. Because when you play a championship game, you have to select several circuits and play one in a row, another one, and for us, the feeling, the sensations must be completely different. For example, Great Britain is quite friendly because you can see that there are 3 tracks. For example, Monaco only have 2 tracks, and it's quite easy. You will see if you play the game, it's quite easy to overtake. There are not technical bends, no technical corners, so it's easy to overtake in this circuit. So, for example, I can show you another one, which is a help to overtake. So you have to think your strategy before the starting, depending on the circuit. Also, before you start playing, you see the circuit and you can set your breakpoints and engine points according to the circuit. So there is a setup of the car. Okay. So Mike, you will see that each corner of the circuit, in each circuit, each corner there is a racing line. In other words, the racing line gives you the best way to take the bend, to take the corner. For example, if you pass over this double arrow, you can count like 1, 2, and 3. So you don't have to count one by one each cell. This is not important in this corner, but some circuits have really, like Monaco, really hard corners, and if you don't take the racing line, you are lost. So see that this brings us to another situation. So if you are in the middle of a corner and somebody wants to overtake you, he must lose the racing line. So the effort it's really hard to overtake in bends, in the corners. So we strongly recommend just to spend 1 or 2 minutes to take a look at the circuit and see the best points to overtake.
And by the racing lines, you're talking a little bit. You're talking, of course, about these kind of the white outlined blocks that are there too. And just like in real racing, you're going to be trying to overtake drivers on the straights rather than in the corners, right?
Exactly. Another important thing, I told you before that the game is a dice rolling and then counting. You will have 4 kind of dices. Two kind of dices are wet dice. That means that depending on the weather, which is this table, you see this is Great Britain, which is more rainy circuit than, for example, Spain or United States. So if you are playing this circuit, you probably will get rainy weather. So you probably need, if you start in dry weather, in sunny weather, and probably the weather can change, that you have to go to the pit stop and change to a new tire. If you don't do that, or for example, the rainy catch you in the middle of the race, you will see that every time you will be out of the track. So this allows you to do some risky tactic or some conservative. So it's difficult to explain, but once you play the game, you will easily understand how the tire works, how the weather works, and all these kind of things.
Right, and they all play together, right? So you've got your brakes, your acceleration, your driver's skill points, mixing with the weather, mixing with the track, mixing with your pit stops, mixing with interplaying with the driver's line. It's all kind of playing together. So it's the amount of strategy and the amount of thinking that goes on really struck me as I was watching some of your tutorial videos.
Yeah, all goes together, and it's a game that you suffer a lot. Okay, so it's not good. It's not good for those who don't want to suffer, because normally you don't go alone. So probably you have to think to overtake the car who is ahead of you, but you have to keep an eye on the car behind you and see the best moment to overtake without being overtaken. So it's a game to suffer and to suffer. You will see, Mike.
In terms of game players, so I know, is it a maximum of 6 drivers? Is that correct?
Yeah, you can start from 2 players, okay? But imagine that you are 3 players or you are 4. We have created bots, so there are robots that they go alone, and they allow you to play always with 6 cars. Maybe you are 3 players, but you can use 6 cars. The other cars will be automatically be driven. So, and you will see we have several kind of bots according what kind of race do you expect. So there are really good bots, and not as good bots. So at the beginning, you say, okay, I will use this bot, and this bot. So you can configure every race with the bot you would like to play.
And people will ask that too, because that would strike me that you could play this solo too.
This is one thing I would like to say. We have been testing the solo, and today we are not happy with the solo we have made. So we prefer don't give a bad solo, and when we have a good solo made, maybe, I don't know, in 6 months, 10th month, we offer the solo way of playing. But in Kickstarter, we will start, unfortunately, with no solo. We prefer not to offer a bad product and keep working on it, because we are not 100 happy with the solo we have at this moment.
Now, I know this is something I haven't seen yet, but this looks like to be a driver, and maybe you can explain what we're seeing now.
Yes, Mike, we apart from all the things I have explained, we consider F1 a very asymmetrical sport. So we bring asymmetry with drivers and teams, constructors, okay? So at the beginning of the game, each player will receive one car with some advantage. For example, I am showing you what it's Ayrton Senna. Okay, if you know for F1, you can recognize with the helmet. So this is the helmet of Ayrton Senna, but we use another name, which is Arnaldo Silva. And this is the advantage of this driver. This driver is very good when it's raining, and well, I don't go further, but this give an advantage that allows don't go out of the track as easy as another drivers. So we bring asymmetry of drivers, and we bring asymmetry of teams. For example, each player will receive at the start of the game one car of his team. This team represents Red Bull, which is a very fast team in pit stops. So, for example, if you and me go to the pit stop at the same turn, and I am using this team, this constructor, I will pass you during the pit stop, okay? And when I am outside the pit stop, I get 3 movement points. So this is a team that is very fast on pit stop. So you have to combine the symmetry of the drivers with the symmetry of the teams.
Wow, there's a lot of depth in this game. I'm impressed. Very much looking forward to it.
So Mike, lastly, I would like to explain you more or less 2 modules we have already implemented. One is the stress module. The stress module, this is we implemented just during the last months, and it's that, imagine that you are first, I am behind you. Maybe instead of overtaking you, I could be interested, it's just put behind you and create stress. Okay, so you could be stressed because I am behind you, and you get stress points. You start, every player or each driver starts with 0 stress, but several things happen during the race that you get stress, and you increase your level of stress up to 6. So, for example, if you know DRS, if somebody takes DRS, that driver takes 1 point of stress. If you try to overtake somebody and you don't achieve that, you get stress. So your stress level goes from 0 to 6. And when, for example, if you are at maximum level, you cannot do lots of things. For example, you cannot overtake, you cannot use resources like engine or brakes. The rest of the people overtakes you without doing any bidding. So you are very weak, okay? But don't worry, because there are ways to be unstressed. So there are ways to get stressed, and there are ways to lose the stress, to get unstressed, okay? This is one module, very, very nice module. This is optional, but I strongly suggest players to use that module. And lastly, I would like to tell you that we have the campaign mode. That is the World Championship mode that offers you a way to, this is the best way to play 100% the game, because it gives you points every race, and depending on you do with your engine, for example, if you lose all your engine points, you start the next race with some penalties. I will not explain you, but you have penalties if you don't treat your car as in the same way that you should do. Okay, so there is the championship mode, and lastly the team mode, the constructors mode. Mike, imagine you and me are racing together. So you are Ferrari and I am Ferrari or Williams or whatever, but we are in the same team. We have to speak the strategy before starting the race. So we go to another room. In Discord we do with a private room, but if we play on a table, we have to stop and go to another room and plan the strategy, because you see that only Ferrari only have one box. So we cannot both together on the same lap to do a pit stop, and we have to do some kind of politics, okay? Who goes first, who goes second. And also we can do things like, okay, go as fast as you can, and I will put the stopper. So I will stop the cars. So these things we have tested. We have played 3 championships with testers, and it's really, really fun, much better than one single race, because you are thinking not in this race, you are thinking also in the future. And more or less, this is the main keys of the game, the main features of the game. Mike, I hope you must more or less understand. I apologize because of my English, but anything you consider, just let me know.
I think this is great. It's very easy for me. Your English is really, really good. So it's really, I think it's a treat to get this explanation. So for the champion, is a championship 8 races then? How long is the campaign go?
You can choose how many races, but we suggest at least 4 races. But this must be defined before starting, obviously. Remember that each player will have one car of one driver. Imagine that you are wearing Ayrton Senna which is very good when it's raining, but imagine that you are playing in a sunny race. So for that reason, you have to combine rainy races and sunny races, because if not, Ayrton Senna is not useful. Okay, so for example, there are some teams that are good on pit stops, etc. So when you play several races, you see that everything it's more or less balanced.
Very, very nice. And so for the team play you're talking about, like where you might have 2 players on a Ferrari team, is that best done with like 4 to 6 players, or does that work well with 2 players as well?
If we play 2 players, we cannot do teams. You must be 6 players with 3 teams. So yeah, 3 teams, 6 players, 3 teams.
I'm wondering, how would you rate the complexity of the game in terms of learning these systems and learning how to play?
I would say that it's not too complex. I would say it's BGG 2.5, more or less, because you will see that there are lots of rules, but they are very intuitive. So when you play, you say, oh, understood, because you cannot do in any other way. This is the way you should do it. So it's not rare. There are not rare things. So it's
and when you say 2.5,
yes,
2.5 out of 5 or 2.5 out of 10?
Yes. Out of 5.
Out of 5. Great. And I know too that I watched a very good tutorial video in English. I'll put a link down in the description down below. So if you're watching this and you want to know more depth about any one of these features and see how they work, that's a great video to follow this up with, because I know I really enjoyed watching that too. And then how long on average does an individual race take?
We have put different circuits with several time. For example, this is a 5 laps. There are other with 6 laps. Okay, so to start the game, to know the mechanics, you can play a 5 laps. If you are 6 player and players are average, because you know that every player is different, maybe it's 2 hours. 2 hours. First race maybe 2 hours and a half, but second race you can do in 2 hours.
Great. Thank you. And then, so I before we did this interview, a couple of things I was looking at. I was looking at what race games are out in the world right now. And one that seems very popular is Downforce. And another one I've seen is called Thunder Alley, and a series of games built around that. I'm wondering if if people have those games, how is this game different from those games?
Yeah, I've played many games like the ones you mentioned, and others like Race Formula 90, which is very popular in Spain and in Europe, and Formula D, which is, I would say that is, I am not going to say that it's better or not, but I'm going to say that it's different, because this offers a strategic point of view of the racing. It's not, in Formula D, which is probably the most popular, you roll the dice and you have to stop in each corner. So and you have to change your here from here 1, here 2, here 3, etc. This not happen here. So this is more strategic level. So you have to decide which tire are you going to use. You have to decide when you must when you should go to the pit stop. If you don't go to the pit stop at the right moment, you probably will lost the race. So go to the pit stop at the best moment is very important, and most important, when to overtake and who to overtake. For example, Mike, imagine that I am wearing very quick tires, very fast tires, which are the soft tires, the red ones, okay? And you are wearing the hard tires, which are slower than mine. That I need to pass you as soon as possible, because you are stopping me. Do you understand me? Because your car it's slower than mine, so I need to pass you as soon as possible, and I will put all my efforts, okay, to pass you. So this kind of strategic, it's different from other kinds that more or less what you have to do is how to take one corner. This is not the key of this game. So the key of it's a strategy game. So when to overtake, when to go to the pit stop, which tire to use, when to take DRS, etc.
And then you've also got your team skills, your driver skills, and you have to kind of factor in the weather. Exactly. It strikes me there's a lot of different decisions. You're always making decisions as to what's the best thing to do and how's the best way to do this. And then if you add the campaign in, what you're also looking at is, like you said, do I burn my car out here, or do I save it for the next race? How is the track going to be different in the next race? What's the weather going to be like? And I mean, it seems like there's just lots of layers of interesting decisions. I like games that ask the player to make interesting decisions. And that's one of the things that struck me as we've been talking, is it really feels like that's been very thoughtful behind the design of this, is let's create fun decisions for the players to make as they play this game. So
one thing I didn't tell you, it's that each corner have one level of difficulty. This is a technical corner. It's very difficult to overtake here. So at the beginning, you have to say, okay, the best point to overtake is this straight or this straight. So you have to think a little bit before starting, like real races, I think.
Very nice. And you've got 8 different tracks. So lots of things to learn and lots of things to play.
Yeah.
As you play more, like, people are going to get more confident and learn things every race and things like that. So looks like a lot of fun. So I know one more thing is that there are events in the game. Could you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, we have included an events deck. There is not too much events because we don't want this to be chaos, but maybe in one race, 1 or 2 events can happen, and this brings some kind of unexpected things. For example, there is one event which is the windy weather. If the windy weather appears, that means that the weather increases unexpected in an unexpected way. So for example, you are convinced that all the race will be sunny, and the event makes that this runs 6 positions, so comes from here to rainy weather. So this makes people, you know, many people like it and want more events, and others say okay. And we will offer the two kind of playability. One with more events, maybe 3 per race, and maybe another only with 1. So you can set up the configuration you would like to play.
And how many different events are there?
There are about 7 events. Yeah. For example, one event could be that one driver lose 1 engine point. And what happens if you take to risk? If you have no engine points and one event appears saying that you should or you must lose 1 engine point, you are out of the race.
Ouch.
Okay, and not yes.
I could see why that would
Another
upset some
event.
drivers.
Yeah. Another event can give you one breakdown, okay, and force you to go to a pit stop that you don't expect to do. And to do a pit stop, it's really hard because you lose 2 turns average. Right. Okay, so events introduce like these kind of things that some people like, others don't like less than the others.
Thank you so much for explaining a lot of these concepts. I think that, you know, it's obvious it's a very, very rich game, and I look forward to seeing it as it comes forward. Artur, thank you so much for joining us today. I am super excited to see Pole Position. Could you tell people a little bit about how they might get more information about the Kickstarter, and what can they do if they want to learn more?
First of all, we have a pre-launch web on Kickstarter. So if you see at the description of your video, you will see the link to our campaign. We probably will launch next 28th of November, but we are still thinking to delay 1 or maximum 2 weeks to start the campaign. And there will be an early bird just to say thanks to the people who support us from the beginning. And you will see lots of interesting things in the campaign. So don't miss the campaign, or at least take a look or check it. And anything you need, or any doubt, please send us an email or write in the campaign, and we'll resolve all your doubts and more.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'll put links to everything down below in the video description. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching, and we'll see you again in an upcoming video soon.
Thank you, Mike.